Welcome to Flash Lesson 2. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the selection tools in the toolbar. Okay, as you can see on the stage, we have three different objects. We have a circle, we have a rectangle, and we have a hand. I'm going to go up to my timeline and click on my selection tool. And when I click on the fill of the circle, you'll notice that I am able to directly remove it out. Also notice on the right hand side that when I clicked on an object, a shape, or a fill, or anything in Flash, the properties will appear in the properties panel. This is where you can do all of your edits, all of your changes to not only color, stroke, style, and many other things that we'll get into in a future lesson. But for now, let's get back to the circle. You'll notice that with the selection tool, I was able to remove the fill of the circle. That's one of the things that selection tool can do, and it's also a property of that shape, but we're going to get into that in a future lesson. Something else that I can do with my selection tool is if I don't have the circle selected, but I move my circle close to the edge, you'll notice that next to the cursor it changes to a quarter circle. That's going to allow me to come in and bend the shape like so. You'll notice up here when it overlaps, it takes away the fill. And so I can have just as many different little unique shapes as I want to just by clicking on the edge and dragging. If I come down to the rectangle, you'll notice that if it is a right angle or a straight line, that the icon next to the selection tool matches it. And from here, I can take straight lines and make them curved, like so. Okay, let's talk about the sub-selection tool, which is our white arrow at the top. Let me just undo all of what I did. Right underneath. All right, let's go into the circle, and I'm only going to select part of it. And you'll notice that when I only selected the top left half, what it did is selected this point, and this point, and this point. Every shape in Flash is made up of anchor points and Bezier handles. Bezier handles are these little tiny things that look like airplane wings on the side of this anchor point. If I come in with my sub-selection tool, I am able to grab these Bezier handles and either shrink them or enlarge them and move them around as I want, and it messes, as you can see, with the dynamics of the shape. If you're familiar with Adobe Illustrator at all, these are the very same handles that you use with the pen tool. They allow you to distort any shape, even after it's been drawn, to whatever it is that you want to change it to. Okay, let me back out. Something else that the sub-selection tool can be used for is to select the entire object and move it as one. As so. You want to make sure not to get any of the Bezier handles selected when you do that as well. Right underneath it is our free transform tool. Let's go over to our hand and I'll show you some cool things we can do with that. Now with my free transform tool selected, what I'm going to do is only select the top portion of the hand. And you'll notice that Flash only highlights that area that I selected. And now what I'm able to do is to come in here and grab this top anchor point box and drag it up and distort it. This little white circle in the middle is the anchor point, or the pivot point rather. It's not the anchor point. It's the point from which things will be stretched. So if I move it down there, you may not notice a difference if I do it vertically, but if I were to do it horizontally, it stretches from this anchor point here. If I were to grab my selection tool again and come in and move it down, and then try to stretch it out, you'll notice it goes wherever that white point goes. Okay. You want to be very careful with the free transform tool because whatever it is that you select is going to be movable. If you've ever had your parents or your grandparents do the old trick where they think that they make their thumb disappear, you can do that in here if you just select the thumb and then you just move it off. Okay? So you want to be very careful with what you select and how you select it. If you select the entire thing, then the entire object will be selected. Flash will not recognize anything that is not a shape inside the free transform tool. And then again, you can come in, move this little point around, and then if you rotate by putting your cursor on the top left-hand corner, you'll notice that it rotates to wherever that white dot is. Okay. One last thing to show you with the free transform tool. Let me reset my hand. If I come in and I just select the top portion of the hand again, I have some options down here. Rotate and skew. I can come in and skew the hand and rotate it if I want to, like it's waving. I can come in with my scale tool and just basically take it up and down. I can come in with my distort tool and distort it. You can get some really cool effects that way. Kind of looks like it's at a angle like a box top. And the final one is your envelope tool, which gives you many more anchor points around the outside of the hand and allows you to come in and make more drastic changes. So if I wanted to come in here and try and separate the fingers a little bit, I can try to do that. So don't forget, when you use your selection tools and you use any future tools in Flash, your properties panel is very important, and you'll also have some options down here at the bottom of your toolbar. This has been lesson 2 on the selection tools. In the next lesson, we'll talk about the shape tools and the drawing tools. We'll see you then.